Hello and welcome. I hope that you are all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And we are back to talk about books. And we're going to do this the same way we did it last time. Today we're talking about the book that I chose to fulfill the prompt to read a book that includes a romance. And it's not your typical fantasy romance, but I chose Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett because I know that there is a romantic interest for the main character. Emily is intelligent. She is a professor at Cambridge University where she studies dryadology, or the study of fairies. In fact, she knows more about fairies than pretty much any other human being. Emily is conducting research for her great work, her Encyclopaedia of Faeries. She's in a cold northern country that I'm not even going to try to pronounce because I won't be able to do it justice, but it's about 5 hours from London. And she's looking for a species of fairies known as the hidden ones. Emily's staying in a rustic cottage with her dog, Shadow. She's content to be there alone with her research, although less content about the prospect of chopping the pile of firewood to keep her warm. As Emily is settling in, she receives a letter from a colleague, Wendell Bambleby. And as she finishes reading the letter, she wonders what he is doing because it sounds like he's planning to come where she is. Why would he do that? Wendell is also a dryadologist, and they've worked together once on a paper. And the research that they did together led to Emily being invited to 2 national conferences, which was a welcome development because Emily is often overlooked in her field. Wendell and Emily are very different from one another. She's content to stay in the cottage, updating her journal and developing her research and her research plans. When Wendell arrives, he charms the locals, the exact opposite reaction that they had to Emily. And to top it off, Emily suspects that he is not really human. It's the way he avoids metals and his accent, qualities that are very much like the royal fairies from Ireland. There's nothing wrong with him being a fairy, but there is something wrong with what she suspects. She believes that he has faked research in the past. They agree to work together, with Emily getting her fair share of the credit for their research. It seems, in fact, that Wendell is more than happy to make sure she receives full credit. Their research turns up a few surprises, but as Emily is uncovering the secrets of the hidden ones, she'll also discover who Wendell really is and what he and she want. Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries is the perfect winter read, exploring magic and the magic of the winter season. What can you read for a similar experience? I have 2 suggestions for you. First, there's young adult fantasy, A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. It shares 3 elements with our main book. First, a main character who is a young woman and is underestimated because she is a young woman. Second, a love of learning. And third, a possible romantic interest for the character. Effie wins a contest to redesign the estate of her favorite author, Emery's Murden. And she's thrilled. Effie has loved this author's book since she was a child, and she has experienced visions of the Fairy King, the main character of this mythic tale. Going to his home is not what she expected. She's not allowed to stay in the main house. She's relegated to a guest cabin. And another student, Preston, is also staying at the estate. And she is shocked when she realizes that he is there to try to discredit Murden and prove that he is not the true author of that mythic tale. And for our second book, I don't have a copy of it, but if after reading Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries, you want to visit the world of fairy again, and especially if you'd like that world to have a mix of history in it and take a deep dive into it, I would definitely suggest Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. But be aware, this is a tome. My paperback copy has 1,006 pages, but it is well worth the read. I hope that you enjoyed this look at Emily Wilde's Encyclopaedia of Faeries by Heather Fawcett, and other books to read for a similar experience. So we're going to choose the prompt for my final book, and we're going to do that the same way. There is the prompt board there. I'm just going to lean back and grab a prompt. There we go. I'll bring it forward so you can see it. And so it's a book about a family, or that includes a family in the plot. Let me see what I can find. I've got one, might be a bit of an odd choice, but we're going to go with What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is a retelling of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. So I hope you'll join me when we talk about this book, and I believe I'm also going to try to read the audiobook of The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, so we'll talk about those both together. And we'll be back in about a week to talk about those, so I hope that you will join me then, and until then, I hope that you enjoy all that you do and all that you read. And thank you.